Test, test, test. Test, test.
Talk into that. I just don't want to get.
Test, test. Okay, it's on mute.
Test, test. Test, 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 test. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, test, test.
Yeah, totally working on the screen.
Check, check, check.
Can't get 20. On.
Test, test, 1, 2. Test, test, 1, 2, check, check.
So this is. Hold on. There you go.
Checking mic 1, checking mic 1. Isn't this a lot of fun?
So don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Alright, we're live.
Just a few more minutes and we'll get started.
Turn it on. Hello and welcome to the annual State of the School meeting. I am using a microphone so that it can be broadcast on our live webcast. For those of you who are joining us through the internet, we welcome you to our meeting as well. I'm Crestavola, I'm the principal here at Free Horizon, and would like to thank you for taking time to join us this evening. We hold this annually to give you a sense of where we are as a school. All of our leadership teams and many of our committees will be presenting tonight to share with you all of the information about what's been happening this year and some information about things that are coming forward. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. It worked a minute ago. All right, so you will be hearing tonight from our Board of Directors, as well as our Governance Committee, the Finance Committee, the Accountability Committee, and the Facilities Committee. All of these are subcommittees of our Board of Directors, and they will be presenting this evening. I will be presenting an update as well as our Community Support Network, which is also known as the Free Horizon Montessori Foundation. We like to start everything with our mission and vision. So if we could together read the Free Horizon Montessori mission statement. Through the Montessori philosophy, we inspire every child to learn and grow as a responsible global citizen in a collaborative, peaceful, and safe environment. Our vision is, we seek to transform our community by developing students who pursue their full potential, understand their global responsibilities, and respect others, self, and the environment. And our motto is inspiring lifelong learning. These statements are very important to us. They guide us in our decision making at the board level all the way to the classroom level. So these are part and parcel to absolutely everything we do. This graphic shows how the leadership here at Free Horizon Montessori works. We have 4 leadership teams within our school. 3 of them are housed within our charter school proper, and 1 is a separate 501c3 private foundation. We are led by the Free Horizon Montessori. They are the people who set the school policy, and they are responsible for hiring, supervising, and evaluating 1 employee in the building, and that's me as the principal. They currently have 4 subcommittees. 1 is the School Accountability Committee, which we will talk about in a moment. That one is actually mandated by Colorado State Legislature. There is a Governance Committee that helps guide policy development and review as well as legal compliance. There's the Finance Committee that helps with the budget development process and assuring that the resources that we have here at Free Horizon are again in service to that mission and vision and go directly to helping students learn and grow. And there's a Facilities Committee that was resurrected this year to help us with the strategic plans for our facilities and how they help support student learning. The administration is staff members. So those folks are the people responsible for operationalizing the mission, the vision, the strategic plan, and everything that we do as a school. We oversee the aspects of the everyday school operations, and I, as the principal, am responsible for the hiring, supervision, and evaluation of all of the staff members, though I do have a handful of other folks on the executive leadership team to whom I delegate some of the supervisory responsibilities. We are also responsible for the implementation of our school's mission, vision, and values, and as well as the UIP, which is developed by the next committee, which is the School Accountability Committee. The School Accountability Committee has both volunteers that are parents within our school and staff members that sit on that accountability committee. And the state of Colorado requires that every public school in the state has an accountability committee, and they are responsible for looking at district and school and state data and doing comparisons, not just academic data, but also culture and climate data, and data that we get from parent surveys, student surveys, and staff surveys in addition to the academics. They help develop the annual Unified Improvement Plan, which is again required by the state of Colorado, and helps us monitor our progress toward our goals. The final leadership team at Free Horizon is the Free Horizon Montessori Foundation, also known as the Community Support Network, and these folks rock and roll. They are volunteers, and they are a private 501c3 foundation that exists just to support our school. They help assure that we are well staffed in terms of volunteers, so they help facilitate volunteerism, fundraising events, and developing a sense of community. So all of the fundraising goes through the CSN, and so does the the volunteerism, and so does the sense of community. So their main three tenets that they work to support are individualized instruction, engaging curriculum, and that strong community. And that's who all leads our school. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Weber, our president of the board of directors.
Thank you, Krista. There we go. So I am Chris Weber. I've been the president for the last 2 years of the board of directors, and I'm going to be sharing with you a bunch of successes and. So our current board members, and there's a few here, and I'm going to ask you if you would to stand up so we can recognize your service. Our Vice President, Alex Ramsey, unfortunately, she just texted me a few minutes ago and said she wasn't going to be able to attend. But Hillary Hobson is here. She is our treasurer. And she also is a member of our finance committee. Our secretary is Jen Stickle. Neil Belstock is the backup to the treasurer, and he is the chair of our finance committee. Roger Poole, hi Roger, is the backup to the secretary, and Eric Smith is our liaison to the SAC. And then we also have Jill Fricker, who unfortunately could also not be here tonight, and she is a director at large. So at this time, I'd like to ask Eric to come up here. And this is one of the funnest things that we get to do in our annual meeting, and it's to celebrate somebody who has made a lasting impression on the board. And we are so grateful for the service that Eric has offered over 4 years that he has served. So he came on as an interim member back in September of 2012. And he's served faithfully ever since, and we are very grateful for that. Some of the amazing things that he's done, I mentioned that he's been the liaison to the SAC, so has done a tremendous job working with them. He's helped me in the evaluation of our principal and provided valuable insight to that process. He has been recently working with Neil to lead our branding and identity strategic plan, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes, the successes that they've had with that. He has acted as vice president of the FHM Building Corporation, and he's also provided us an amazing location for our board retreats at his office, a really fun place to have that. So for those things, we were very grateful, and I have a couple things here I'd like to present to you. Can I get somebody to give me a hand? You mind, Jen? There's too many things to carry here. That's okay. So here, as we follow the mission and vision here at Free Horizon, it's all about nurturing our community, nurturing our students. And so every time we have somebody that steps off the board, we like to present them with a token that represents that. You know, just like we care and feed these plants and help these plants to live and thrive. In the same way, the members of the board have worked so diligently to help this community thrive, to help the school thrive, and for that we're grateful. So here's a
Thank you.
that for you. And then the other thing that we like to give is just a token of appreciation from all of the students and the staff that are here. So we give them a representation of the school as expressed in our Fox logo, and it says Eric Smith, Free Horizon Montessori Board of Directors 2012 through 2016, and just about every student in the school was able to sign this, as well as a lot of the staff. And so hopefully you'll accept this memento and hang it somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
This is amazing. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, again, thank you, Eric. We really appreciate it. So our board composition, so Eric is stepping off the board tonight. He's served with us for 4 years. Most of the board terms are 3 years, sometimes with interim people coming in an interim role, like Eric did, they'll serve additional time. But as of right now, we have an 8-member board. There are 7 members that are voting members, and then Krista also sits on the board as an ex officio or non-voting member. So she participates in all the discussion is involved in any activities that we have, any planning, but when it comes time to take a vote, it's really up to those of us that are the elected members to take care of that. So for our 2016-2017 board, I'll be returning. Alex, Hillary, Neil, and Roger will as well, and then we have 2 vacancies that we'll be filling this evening. Our officer elections for the board will be happening at our next board meeting, and board meetings take place on the first Tuesday of every month. This next one happens to be May 3rd, and the public is always welcome, and we encourage you to attend those meetings. There's a lot of insightful things that happen there. So now it's time to get into the celebrations, the things that the board has accomplished this year that we really do want to celebrate. The first couple, we've had a few lean years, but over the last 3-4 years, things have gotten a lot better. And so we're able to celebrate a few items on this list as a result of our budget becoming more healthy. The first one of those is amazing. At the end of last year, we identified as a strategic initiative to try and improve teacher retention and to provide, and one way to do that was to provide an additional salary and compensation package. So we did a comprehensive study, and at the beginning of this year, we were able to offer the staff a pretty much across the board raises and as well as additional benefits. So for that, we are grateful. We've also been able, because of additional funding, to return a clinic aide back at half-time, part-time for that. We're also had the addition of a Montessori introductory program for younger children. We continue to work on our AMS accreditation. We're working towards full accreditation, and that should happen in the next couple of years, so we're excited about that. And one more thing that we're going to celebrate here in a little bit with Hillary is that we're projecting a budget surplus for the 4th consecutive year, so that's great. Oh, and then Beth added this slide. This is the, so we just received, this wasn't in my slide deck, but I'll talk to this. This is great. So we had the opportunity to install the solar panels on the building, and we worked closely with the building corporation to make that happen. And the other night, we were able to go before Golden City Council and receive a sustainability award from them. For them, they recognized what we had done for that. So amazing there, too. So the board is really responsible for the strategy of the school. Krista mentioned that her and her staff take care of the operations, but by us, the board, following the mission and vision, we strategize and look long term. We look 1 year, 3 years, even 5 years out, and try and find ways that we can prepare the school for success. And so every June we meet. We've been doing it at Eric's office. I don't know where we're going to do that this June. But yeah, so we meet, and the whole idea of that is to just come together and talk about, what it is that we're doing well and areas that we can improve. And one method that we've used the last couple of years that has worked fairly well is SWOT, where we look at our strengths, our weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And we try and transform those over time. So our weaknesses we turn into our strengths. Our threats become opportunities. And so that's worked well for us. So in 2015-2016, this last June, things that we identified, we found 3 key areas, and then we added a 4th because we'd made measurable success on the first 3. But the key areas that we identified, the first was branding and identity. It's who and what is FHM. We need to articulate that to ourselves, to the community. And so Eric Smith and Neil Belstock have been working very diligently to make that happen. The second item that we identified that we really wanted to work towards was providing professional development for our staff. Our staff is amazing, but we need to continue to build their skills and continue to engage them in what it is that they do. So Hillary Hobson and Alex Ramsey, big thanks to them for making this happen. The other item that we identified in June was capital planning. We realize that our facility has some needs and that our community has needs that may not be met by our existing facility. And so, we need, just like we're building our staff, we also need to build out our facility as well. And so Jen Stickle and myself have worked on that, and I'll detail a little bit more on some of these. The last one that we just added was internal communications. That was identified in our strategic retreat that it was key that we enhance the communication amongst our community, amongst our staff, and then between the two. And so Jill Fricker and Roger Poole have volunteered to take that one on, and I'll talk about a few of the goals there here in a second. So the first one that Eric and Neil have been working on is branding and identity. Few key objectives there. The first is we need to come up with a unique identity, what it is about the school that sets us apart from any other school here. And by defining that unique identity, we come up with our brand. It's a process that we go through. It needs to be recognizable both internally, so that when we talk about it, there's no disagreement about what it is that we do. And then also our external community. So if you meet somebody in the street and you say, hey, I'm from Free Horizon, they say, oh, that's the school that does whatever, and that's what we're working on. We're trying to define that. So the accomplishments that we've had this year, we've worked with Susan Vallier, and we really appreciate the help that she's done in setting up the branding committee and identifying what characteristics about our school are special and unique, and then trying to build that brand. And I like the way that Neil and Eric have talked about this. It's all about coming from the inside out. Let's talk about what it is about us that makes us unique, and then let's try and push that out to the community so that they understand. Susan and Eric and Neil have also facilitated staff workshops and have worked with our staff to try and identify what it is that makes us unique. And they're on track right now for the end of this year to truly have a brand and an identity that we can come back next year and begin to promote. So it's really great that we're seeing success with that. The second strategic goal was in the area of professional development, and Hillary and Alex have been working really hard on this one as well. The objectives here were to allow the staff to know about opportunities for professional development, and then to encourage their participation. So it's engaging the administration, trying to find opportunities for them outside. And so some ways that we've done that internally, we've created a website that is internal to the staff that they can go and find some of these opportunities. We have managed to send staff to most of the Colorado conferences here in the Northeast part of Colorado that included both Montessori and charters. And so that's something that's fairly new for us this year to be able to do that. Again, because of funding has enabled that. We've also had on staff development days, we've had workshops that have been offered to staff to provide timely, relevant, and uplifting content. And then the big celebration here is that our budget for next year, we've identified that this is again key, and that we're going to increase the funding for staff for professional development next year by 25%. So the next item, the next strategic goal, was capital planning, and Jen Stickle and myself have been working on this. And the objective there was just to look at our current facility. What is it that we need to meet the educational needs for our students and to meet our learning objectives as established by our mission and vision. And then we also need to look long term, and what is it going to take to either enhance this facility or add to it in a way that it's going to meet those long-term needs. So the accomplishments this year, we've resurrected the facilities committee. At one time there was a facilities committee, and then the board decided that there wasn't enough work for them, and we had disbanded it. We've brought that back, and Jen thankfully has been able to sit as a liaison on that board, so thank you for doing that. We mentioned the solar installation. That was something that was a product of collaboration between the administration, the board of directors, the facilities committee, and we were able to make that happen. And then finally, the last issue, and I believe we're going to talk more about this, we've been working diligently to prepare for the Jeffco bond. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to have an additional influx of revenue to be able to meet some of these needs. So in the last goal that we just added, this is a brand new one, it's internal communications. We felt like we had made so much success over the year in those previous three that it was time to bring something new on. So 2 board meetings ago, we talked with the board and said, hey, what is it that we would like to bring up next? And internal communications was identified. And so, what is internal communications? Well, it's communication within the school, so between leadership and staff and vice versa, amongst the staff, and communicating with the board. So we currently have 2 staff liaisons that sit in our board meetings and participate in those board meetings, and it's an opportunity for the staff to provide feedback to the board about how things are working within the school. And it's also an opportunity for the board now to talk to the staff members through the liaisons about what it is that we're strategizing and what we're planning for. So the other area of communication, though, is within and with the community, so amongst us as parents. So we're not talking about communication with newspapers and the public and things of that nature. What we're talking about is really honing in on what our message is amongst our school community. So we're going to continue to work on that. So, and that's all I have. So next I'd like to invite Monica to come up and talk about some of the governance.
Okay. So the governance committee is, as Cresta mentioned, the committee that's responsible for developing policies and is it working? Policies and procedures based upon what the board's vision is and where they're wanting to head. So they decide where they want to head, and we put together the structure so that it can happen legally and by policies and bylaws. Miss Lynn and I are the governance committee at this point in time, with Chris as the liaison from the board. And I love this picture because it's super diverse. And one thing that we've been striving to as the governance committee is to make sure that everything we're doing is done in a manner that is inclusive for all the diverse families within our community. So this is what I already said. And along with that, we manage the board of directors election. So we are the ones who vet candidates and recommend them to the community at this point in time of year for voting. And in the interim, if there's a vacancy, then we recommend them to the board of directors. And the person fills out that term and then is elected at the end of the term. We do have open seats. I actually quit last year, and I'm still here, so we really have open seats. So if anyone would like to join, I encourage you to connect with either Lynn or I or Chris, because it's a really neat way for people to become more familiar with the school and the governance of the school, and then move up into the board as well. As Chris mentioned, we're a charter school and we're governed by our board of directors, and so it's a really important opportunity for us to be electing the people who are on the board of directors. It's a gift to be able to choose the people who are leading our school and looking long term. A couple things that have happened all very recently that are important to recognize before we do our election is very recently we looked at the data as far as the number of board members that we've had on the board. It's always been about 7 or less. So the board had the vision to change the membership from 9 to 7. And that was done just in response to the history and the trends. Also, as I mentioned, we've done a few things to make sure that we are meeting the diverse needs of our community. Whereas previously there was 1 vote per family in the school, we now have made it such that all legal guardians can vote. Also, whereas before only the family or the guardians could vote, now we're making it that all community members vote. And I want to recognize all the staff that are here tonight. Thank you for making the time every day. And thank you for making the time tonight. You guys are, all of the staff, teachers, and the administration are important parts of our school, have an incredible contribution to make, and we all believe that your voices are equally as important in determining the board of directors for the school. So thank you for joining, and thank you for being part of those who are voting. And then we used to, well, actually, I talked to someone who's been around for a while. She's like, yeah, the first elections, we all sat around and just raised our hands. That was what we did. Then they decided to get confidential, and so they used paper. And this year, thanks to Luke, I want to recognize Luke. Thank you so much. Luke has spent an incredible amount of time developing a system where we can have electronic voting. It is developed so that we are actually making sure that people are only voting once, that the people eligible to vote are the ones voting. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And I'm so grateful because you put in a lot of time. And congratulations, you also have a new baby at home and put in all this time. So thank you so much. You've gone above and beyond. So all of that is in place, as well as also live streaming tonight, so that we have the opportunity to make it so that people can access information whenever they want, and however they want, and however they're able to at the time. This is just one other piece of information about the Board of Directors. It's the code of conduct for the Board of Directors. A lot of thought was put into the board when it was established, and it's all been in place for quite some time. It's important that people on the board are able to differentiate between their personal needs and the needs that they're leading the school with. They always behave in an ethical manner. They treat each other as our children treat each other, kindness and respect. They're focusing on the governance and the policy versus their individual needs. And then the administration does the management. And so it's a beautiful balance. It's a beautiful balance. They respect integrity of board processes, follow all the policies and procedures, and they act for the benefit of the school, as Chris mentioned. Confidentiality is key, and the board does an exceptional job of not sharing information that's personal. They keep everything that is discussed, that is confidential. Now, board meetings are public meetings, so that's important for all of you to know. You all are welcome to come at any point in time, and the materials are always available. And they notify the board of directors of changes that may affect the eligibility to serve on the board. So if someone finds that they are having a conflict of interest, they step off. So that integrity is phenomenal, and it really leads to the great leadership that we've had. So you all elect the candidates. As Chris mentioned, we have two candidates here tonight, and I'd like to introduce them. Jennifer Stickle and Courtney Ahuja. Jill Fricker said that I could share that it's her son Josh's birthday today. This is the actual day, and she chose to spend the day with him instead, and is very sorry that she was going to miss this, but had notified us ages ago that she would miss it, and we were all very empathetic and understanding. So she's sorry she's unable to make it tonight. So we are going to look at the videos for each of the candidates. We can share the videos, and then you all can vote. I know, I'm sorry. They're all fabulous. And Luke actually said that we have already had over 40 people vote electronically, and the videos, these have already been seen over 60 times, something like that? Yeah, so awesome. It's working. It's working. Thank you, Luke.
So the first video we're going to play is Courtney's.
Hi, I'm Courtney Nugent. I'm running for a board member position at Free Horizon Montessori. My family and I have been connected to Free Horizon now for 5 years. My son, Ronan Pocock, is a second grader in LE2 with Miss Sadie and Miss Casey. My husband, Ian, is a lead teacher for LE3. I'd like to become a board member for a variety of reasons. For one, I'd like to make sure that every child at Free Horizon is receiving a greater Denver area. I'm an attorney by day, and I currently serve as in-house counsel for a small energy company. I also have some board experience. I currently serve as a Denver Kids, Inc. board member, and I've had the opportunity to serve as a regular member of the Jefferson County Planning Commission. I believe I'd be a great asset as a board member to Free Horizon Montessori. I think I'm fun, I'm resourceful, I'm organized, and I'm goal-oriented, and I'd love to have the chance to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Okay, the next one we're going to do is for Jill Fricker.
Hi, I'm Jill Fricker, and I'm running for the Board of Directors at Free Horizon Montessori School. I currently have a child in P1, and next year I will have another child in primary. I hope to help the board move the school forward. One of the things that I felt when I first came in, my family and I felt, is this amazing, welcoming culture, and I hope to help that, keep that strategic vision in place so that other families can feel that welcoming that we felt. Professionally, I'm currently the executive director of a local nonprofit with a global focus. I have
Check, check, 1, 2. All right, thank you, Monica. So we're going to continue our meeting now. And so it's time for the Finance Committee.
Hi, I'm Hillary Hobson. I'm the treasurer of the board, here to report on the Finance Committee. So the members of the Finance Committee are myself, Neil Bellstock. He is the chair of the Finance Committee and the backup to the treasurer. Member at large is vacant, so if anyone's interested in finance or learning about the school, you're more than welcome to come. Then the FHM principal, Krista, and the business director, Beth. We all meet once a month. Unless we need more working sessions, then we'll meet more than once. It's usually the last Tuesday of the month, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., unless it conflicts with somebody's schedule, and we'll change it, but it's always on the calendar. We review actuals, variances, forecasts, anything that's going on at the school, things that are happening that come up that we hadn't planned on previously. We monitor strategic and long-term planning through the board goals, and we have financial transparency, compliance oversight. Part of the reason that Neil is the chairperson of that committee is so that the treasurer can go back with the information and present it to the board, and I'm not running both the committee and going back to the board. The fiscal year, so confusing to some, but it's July 1st through June 30th. It is not a calendar year. But FY16 means it's ending in 16. So it's 2015 in the fall, 2016 in the spring, which is this year is FY16. Next year is FY17. PPR is per pupil revenue. That is how much they assign to a child and how much we get on an annual basis per child. FTE is a full-time equivalent, and that's how we're funded. A kindergartner is only worth 0.58. Not really sure how you get 0.58 of a human, but that is the number that we have to use. So our enrollment is actually slightly higher than our FTE count. So the budget process, you develop the budget in the fall. In the spring, the board reads the first draft of it, then we approve it. Then we do the FTE count on the October count day or week, however it ends up. And then if we're off more than 5%, we have to report back to Jeffco, because we were off in our count, whether it's low or high, and we have to revise our budget if it's more than 5% variance. And then in the spring of the new year, we get the PPR for the current year, and the board approves the budget for the following year. Wash, rinse, repeat, yeah, every year. FHM is very fiscally sound. I feel blessed to be on it with it being such a sound time. I've actually been on the Finance Committee for 2.5 years, but only been on the board for 1. During that time, we've seen great enrollment. Last year, we thought we were going to have 293 FTE, but we had 302. So we do have a modest budget surplus. Things we've done with that surplus is pre-purchasing some technology for FY17 and the FY16 year. And a lot of that is going to the reserves so that we can keep our reserves high so that we always have money to pay for the expenses that come up, and so that we have 2 months at least cash on hand to pay for all the teachers and the staff and the rent, etc. The unrestricted reserves at the end of FY16, which is this year, is about $775,000. Which is more than 2 times our monthly expenses. The full MLO fund equalization, that's mill levy override. Previously, the public schools were getting a portion of that, but they decided to let the charters start, which is a great thing. So that's why we were able to give teachers the raises, and we were able to get them up in the salary scales. So we are going to get that again in FY17. The new salary schedules, like I said, went into effect this year, restore different positions that had previously been cut when we had harder times. The strong investment we have in FHM's curriculum, materials, and technology are continuing. Like I said, we already pre-spent dollars to make sure that we have Chromebooks and laptops for the teachers so that they have better technology that they can use next year. And Mr. Luke can get them configured over the summer so that the teachers have them when they come into the school year. We don't have to wait for them to be delivered and configured, and it's not winter time before they get to see them. The FY17 budget that we've proposed already has been reviewed by the board. We're budgeting very conservatively just to make sure that we don't overspend. Enrollments in clubs and enrichment participation is growing, so that's great. The summer camps are growing like crazy. The spring camps, all the different breaks, and then all the after-school activities are really helping the funding, and I think it's helping more of a community feel, and all the kids are loving it too. So here's our budget for this year, for FY16. You can see the different percentages. So the PPR that we were talking about is about 57% of our income coming in. The mill levy override was $417,000, so it's 11%. It's a pretty big number that we had been previously denied, so we're happy about that. Tuition fees and programs is over $900,000. That is after school care, before school care, kindergarten. Oh, sorry, I meant preschool. And all the different programs we have. Donations, $151,000. Most of that is from the CSN. And then other spending or income. The major expenses, the salary and benefits is 68% of our budget, which is a big part of it because the people should be. The people are who make the school. Our bond payments to pay for the building itself, $475,000 is 13%. Then you can see purchase services, contract services, and other. We don't have data beyond FY09, so that's why we have only this. We were not really sure what the reserves were back then, but we do know that our reserves have been growing, that we are very thrifty, and we have saved money to make sure that we have what we need. The mandatory reserves we have to have is $81,000 for Tabor, the bond reserves for the building, $590,000, and revenue stabilization is $50,000. The FTEs that we were talking about, they gradually went up, spiked in FY12, and they've come back up again in FY17. We're projecting 308. Potentially it could be more, could be less, but that's about where we think we're going to land. The PPR is the most important funding source, as you saw on the previous slide. That's the hugest part of our income. This is where you get into all the fun state stuff. Amendment 23 in 2000 said that every year they must increase school income or increase by inflation plus 1%. So they use that to determine what the PPR value is. But then they decided to reinterpret the amendment and create a negative factor, which said, well, you can increase it, but we only have to count the base value, and we can basically gouge and do as much as we want. There's all kinds of information on that on greateducation.org. And basically what it means for us is this year it was $1,227 less that we got a reduction per pupil. And next year it's $1,284 per student. And so that's why it's a little bit challenging to do the budget sometimes. This shows spending. It only goes up to 2011, but it shows where Colorado is. With every other state in the country is at the zero, or that's the baseline. And you can see where we have gone down significantly to where we're $1,872 below funding of the rest of the country. So it's not really a good situation. That's why we need donations. This is the graph for the negative factor that shows exactly how much. We basically have not received $2.5 million in funding in the last 6 years, since 2010, because of the negative factor. So there's information on your legislators. Talk to everyone, tell everyone what you think about this, because it's very difficult, but despite it, we are doing very, very well. And now it's Facilities Committee. Where are you going?
Hello, I'm Beth Helmke, Business Director here at Free Horizon. Also have the honor of being the committee chair with the Facilities Committee. So the Facilities Committee, like Chris alluded to, was originally constituted when the school was formed. Their original charge was to do site selection and then ultimately help facilitate the purchase of this building in 2010. They then were sunsetted. had a hiatus. We've resurrected them this year under strategic oversight of the board, really to revamp and help drive momentum for facilities investments and long-term planning as it pertains to educational adequacy for our current campus in the strategic view. So we've got facility committee, we've got Jen, who's been serving on it as liaison to the board. Thank you, Jen. We've got Lane, a CSN representative. Building Corp representative is Mira Nagy. Cresta, myself, and then 2 parents who are serving as volunteers as well, Mark Heller and Tim Farnsworth. We meet monthly, generally mid-month. In the mornings, we welcome anyone. They're public meetings here at school, and all perspectives and inputs are certainly appreciated. So we really kicked off the Resurrected Facilities Committee in January, so we haven't been active for all that long, but have, we feel, accomplished a fair amount within that short period of time. We exist, so that's a celebration, right? We did a capital campaign readiness self-audit. So the CSN in the school undertook a capital campaign feasibility study with Record Consulting about 4 or 5 years ago at this point. That was put on the shelf just given some transitions in leadership that the school was undertaking at that time. We feel like we're at a point now where we wanted to revisit that and evaluate ourselves and our progress against the recommendations that the consulting group made at that time. So we went through a pretty methodical process, audited that, did an evaluation, and basically judged the school's readiness against the recommendations to determine, are we ready to revisit a capital campaign potential? The consensus is that we are. So now we're looking to basically refresh that, update it as it needs to be, and then mobilize here in the next year or two. The bond initiative planning, which we'll speak to in a little greater detail, we undertook a pretty substantial process to update our facilities master plan and rank and prioritize our capital needs, our facilities needs, and then communicate those to the district so that they can be included in the bond initiative planning. As Chris alluded to, the district is planning to go forward to the voters this November with a bond prospect of $420 million to address capital needs for Jeffco schools, charters included, and we wanted to make sure that we were on that menu. Facilities master plan, riveting document. I'm happy to share it with all of you. It's 120 pages of real just edge of your seat stuff. We're getting that brought up to date and maintained. Campus greening initiative underway, sold our way. Now we're looking at some LED retrofits, water conservation, really making sure that we are great stewards with our financial resources, but also our environmental resources here at the school. Campus improvements, and also huge celebration. It was so moving to see everyone rally behind the initiative that we want to undertake to do the site development, evaluation, planning work, to do our learning landscape and playground overhaul. So that's something that the facilities committee is going to drive hard, drive fast, and really mobilize on here quickly. So we've got an RFP underway for that so that we can get some design crews in here and some civil engineers in here and be able to ideally come back with some design-ready plans by the fall, price those out, understand what it's going to look like to fund the overhaul of the playground, and be able to start strategically moving towards that goal. So that's exciting. And as I alluded to, so we were notified a few months ago that the district is going forward. Looks like latest news is that they're going to pitch a $420 million bond. That's really intended to be covering the scope of all all public schools, charters included in Jeffco. We were asked to provide our rank order. The little graphic there shows you what we brought forward. Basically 3 tiers there. Tier 1, campus expansion, so that's going to ideally be the build-out for some additional educational spaces, multi-purpose areas like gym, cafeteria. That comes to the tune of $4.7 million. We've got Tier 2, which is kind of the second phase of the campus expansion, where the first phase is kind of the shell and the exterior and being able to do some of the interior finishes in the second phase. Also the elementary playground, and then Tier 3 would be debt retirement, basically paying off our bond for the building and some exterior commonization and improvements. We're working on that currently. Basically, we're now at the point where we're waiting for additional guidance from the Capital Asset Advisory Committee within the district, and hopefully here in the next few weeks, we'll be able to understand exactly how charters integrate into the district's plans for that bond pursuit. Right now, we're included. We fully expect to be included throughout the duration. It's just now a matter of how much money there will be and how far that will go to fund all schools' needs across the district. So stay tuned. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of sort of advocacy opportunities as that develops. Crystal has a flyer. It's all tease, little flyer tease. You're going to get that later. Okay. All right, we are working on, like I said, the RFP, getting that mobilized to get plans put together, simultaneously looking for external funding so that we can really maximize how that project moves forward. We don't just want to be reliant upon our internal community. There are a lot of partners out there in the community by and large that we'll want to invite to be a part of that with us. Greening the school, like I spoke to, operations and maintenance analysis, so doing a little bit deeper dive into our data to make sure that we're as lean and as environmentally and financially responsible as we can be within our current campus, and then also bond initiative prep. Join us, like I said, riveting stuff. Super appreciate everyone and what they bring to the table for the facilities committee. It's a great sort of broad cross-section of experience and neat group to be a part of. I'm glad that it's back going and excited to see what it's going to do over the next years for the school. Just to give you a visual, that star is where that amazing learning landscape is going to be. I don't know if everybody's aware, when we bought the facility in 2010, we also acquired about 2 acres, which right now has just been empty and fallow. But the long-term vision was always to develop that to be more of the interactive learning landscape, playground, recreation space, athletic fields. So right now, where the yellow rectangle is our current athletic pitch. Basically, we'd be able to now utilize the entire opportunity within that space. And so just to give you a visual sense, that's behind the VA building there, between the VA and I-70. That's the school's area, and the long-term vision has always been to develop that. We'll see what that looks like here as soon as we start to get design plans pulled together. There will be opportunities for community collaboration and input and focus groups so that everyone has a chance to really help inform and advise and share what that's going to look like. Most definitely the kids are going to be central to that discussion because they're the ones who have now decided we need a water park with a slide. So see what we can do for them on that front. All right, here's the School Accountability Committee. Thanks.
Hello. So my name is Morgan Ruvalo, and I am a member on the School Accountability Committee. And if you were wondering where all the cool kids hang out, it's on the SAC. I mean, these are the coolest people I know right here. So, you know, if you want to hang out with us, we would love to see you. We have a little out once a month, sometimes twice a month at 5:30 to 7:30. We're so awesome, sometimes we go home early. And this is a new slide I never saw. It's so pretty. Okay, well, all right. You guys know how to read. The School Accountability Committee, we're supposed to be providing a framework for the community advisement to the administration and the board. So our job is to gather data by pestering people with surveys. Every time we do that, please respond, because we don't know, we can't read your minds yet. So we need as much involvement as possible. And then we're supposed to tell you what the results of those surveys are and not keep it to ourselves. And the point of that is to foster an atmosphere of continual improvement. We'll never be perfect. We can always improve on something. We could always get better and better. And it's great to always kind of look at what we're doing awesome on and what stuff we could do even better on. And we need to, sorry, I'm reading this for the first time, ensure accountability to FHM's mission and vision. There you go. This is totally different than the one they gave me. Sort of, there was no picture. All right, so we did 3 surveys this year. We did a parent survey in November. Only 61 people responded. That's about half of last year. So next year, parents, we want all of you to respond, because the data's better the more responses we get. The staff survey took an FHM-specific survey in March. Every other year, they have to take the TEL survey, and they did that last year, so we got to write the survey for them this year. 87% participated, and Jennifer Levy was telling us that normally the before and after care people don't participate, and this year they did. And it's really exciting to have not just the instructional staff, but the entire staff to participate, which was pretty cool. We also gave, well, Jeffco did the Make Your Voice Heard survey in February. There's two different surveys, one for grades 2 through 6 and another one for the middle school. And we got very good participation in that. So here's the result, the top 5 results from our parent survey. And the pretty green color is from last year. And the more fabulous numbers in blue are from this year. So the first thing that we had was the teachers at Free Horizon are approachable, visible, and helpful, and that was actually one of our strengths last year as well, so that's awesome. People of diverse cultures, backgrounds, and abilities are respected by staff members, which was also one of our top ones last year, so we were rocking those too. The third one is my child receives the support he or she needs to be successful, which definitely improved a lot from last year, which is amazing. Next one is volunteers are welcome and valued at Free Horizon. And the last one's kind of interesting because we always had this question on the surveys. We never knew what grades. So they were actually seemed to make people happier doing that because we got better results. These were the bottom 5. They were still pretty awesome. Look how high those numbers are. They're so pretty. Three of them, if you notice, are actually higher than last year. So we're actually growing a lot. The first one we have is the administrative team at FHM is approachable, visible, and helpful. We think part of that might be just because there was some administrative changes, and so we're not expecting any for next year, so that should definitely help. I am informed in a timely manner about needs and concerns of my child. That one was improving though. I can complete 30 hours of volunteering without undue difficulty during the school year, which has also gone up from last year. The relevance of school trips to the curriculum is communicated clearly. And the Rev Food Top program is meeting my child's needs, which definitely went up a lot as well. This is the results from our staff survey. Since they didn't take the same survey last year, I don't have the numbers from last year. We had 3 items that were 100%. 2 of the questions about the CSN got 100%, so CSN, you are doing amazing. The CSN has reasonable expectations for faculty involvement, and the CSN is sensitive to teachers' time and energy, so teachers like you, CSN, keep it up. The other 100% was my supervisor, who holds me accountable for high performance, which is pretty awesome. We also have, see, I told you we were awesome. The SAC sets reasonable goals for school improvement. The board of directors represents the entire Free Horizon and carry a fairly, okay, I'm a school teacher at another school. We have no idea either. Okay, so we're not too worried about that one. I'm not sure the people at Lake Park know anything about it either. So the next one is the system for raw materials needs to be replaced, or there is a system. And the last one is our school effectively orients new employees to the Free Horizon community. So there's going to be some work on just solidifying and making clear communications on those things and making sure that we cover that every year so everybody's aware of how those things work. Here are the results from the student survey. And all results are very similar to district results. These are averages of each of the subcategories. The middle school categories, every single subcategory was higher than the district. Every single one. So the middle school is amazing, and so is the elementary. All averages were higher. A couple of them were a little lower than the district, but they were extremely similar, which is pretty nice. The 3 things that they were asked questions about were the relationships, school climate, and the academic rigor and relevance. The blue is from this year, and then the green is from last year. We grew in every category from last year. So we just keep getting better and better. So some final thoughts. Good decisions come from good data, which means we need more data. So I want 100% participation next year from everyone. The results, all the results are posted on our website. And we can always have new members to our cool club. So feel free to fill out an application and turn that in and come hang with us.
Thank you.
All right. So, thank you, Morgan. Part of what I provide an update on is our Unified Improvement Plan. So, as Morgan stated, there is a lot of data that the SAC updates and interprets and makes recommendations on, and then the Unified Improvement Plan is developed that helps guide some of our strategic initiatives in terms of growing our academic and culture targets here at Free Horizon. This is the timeline. So, Unified Improvement Plans are usually good for 2 years. You develop them 1 year, then you update them when you get additional data, and then you also have to create new goals moving forward. So in March and April of last year, we did state testing, and actually I think it was March and May. We didn't do it in April. This year was April. And then in July of 2015, we actually received the CMAS data for social studies and science. And then quite helpfully, in February, we got the data from the PARC assessments for English Language Arts and math. No. Well, so from the previous school year. So, yes. So they took it in March and May of last year, and then in February of this year, we got the data. That's not a typo. Is what I'm saying. However, in October and November, that's when we're supposed to analyze all that data, and we have to develop the UIP, and it was due to Jeffco in January before we had the PERC data. Just saying. So, then in January onward, we are supposed to be implementing that, the action steps that we identified in our Unified Improvement Plan. In April, we just concluded our state testing, so thankfully the state legislature did address some of the amount of testing that was required, and we reduced it significantly from last year, which is the good news, and they are telling us we're going to get the data in August. So we're crossing our fingers that we'll actually receive data in time to use data to inform decisions as we need to. So hopefully that will happen, and then we will do the data analysis, and in September through November, again, look at that compared to the goals we've set and update those goals accordingly. So we, in addition to the state data, because obviously it's a little bit unclear at this time, we utilize staff and parent and student survey data in developing the UIP, and we also use the interim assessment, which is the NWA MAP assessments in our goal setting. So, last year's Unified Improvement Plan. Here's the status of our priority improvement challenges. The first one we identified was addressing teacher and student turnover through development of a comprehensive employment experience and compensation package for faculty that is competitive with the current market, and identifying reasons behind student transfers to address any issues that might be within the scope of control while still in alignment with our mission and vision. We had 13 action steps. 7 of them are completed, and the other 6 are underway and in process. Our second priority improvement challenge was to enhance our writing instruction throughout the school by completing a comprehensive evaluation of our writing curriculum, continuum of writing rubrics, instructional practices, homework expectations, assessments, and outcomes. And we had 4 out of 4 action steps, and those are all completed. However, they're all also ongoing things that we have to keep doing. And at this time, I'd like to give a shout out to Catherine Lanzillo, who serves as our school assessment coordinator, because she developed our writing assessment that we are using based on state standards. So we are administering writing assessments 3 times a year, and teaming to score those that the students complete in order to provide them feedback in a timely fashion based on rubrics that are based in the state standards. Our third priority improvement challenge we identified as enhanced math instruction throughout the school by continuing a comprehensive evaluation and enhancement of consistent implementation of our math curriculum, pacing guides, grouping conventions, instructional practices, homework expectations, assessments, and outcomes. And 1 out of 4 of those action steps is finalized and complete, and the remaining 3 are continuing and in process. So this year, the SAC and BRE identified our priority improvement challenges for the UIP that we submitted in January. So the first one was address several aspects of our school culture by focusing on family engagement, student retention, and retention of highly effective teachers at Free Horizon. It is important for families, families, and staff. Okay, so families are really important. Y'all are really important to feel valued and important at our school. And then we retained the second one from last year. So we're still working on writing. We retained the third one, which is ongoing with the math. And then we also were required by the state to add read plan goals. So, you know, every once in a while the state says, hey, there's something else you have to do. So we did add 4 read plan goals. So here's challenge number 1 in terms of what we are going over. This one is the school culture, and these are the action steps that have been identified. Build a pipeline of volunteers and assure transfer of knowledge. That's one of the challenges that we have experienced over time, is making sure that we have a consistent pipeline of volunteers who are ready to step in. We rely on volunteers in everything from our board of directors to our CSN, and it's really super important that that transfer of knowledge be able to occur. So we're working on systems for that. We are looking at developing an engaging parent education program for the 16-17 school year. It's already in process. Our instructional leadership team has had 2 planning retreats for next year, and watch your calendars because it will be very exciting. We're doing tapas and workshopas for parents next year, so it's going to be fun. We are also looking to continue to increase student retention by supporting families and students. There are a number of things that we have already taken underway this year in terms of facilitating visitations earlier than later in the school year, and helping parents make those choices earlier and sooner, and envisioning what's best for their child and continuing here at Free Horizon. And then finally, retaining highly effective teachers, and there are a number of different things that we're looking at in terms of retaining those highly effective teachers. Jennifer? It's a state term. Yeah, so the state identifies that you can, if you're a highly effective teacher, it means that you're meeting all the standards as identified on the rubrics that the Colorado Department of Education has identified. So I'm skipping to number 4 because the other 2 we already talked about. Number 4 was the other no priority improvement challenge this year, which were the READ plan goals. So READ plans are things that students who score twice in the well below benchmark area on the DIBELS assessment. DIBELS stands for the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy. And that is those are quick assessments that are given to students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. There are varying between 3 and 4 of them, and they are 1 to 3 minute assessments that are administered 3 times a year. And they're one-on-one with a teacher. And they identify different parts of literacy that students may or may not have strong skills in. And if they score well below benchmark on 2 of those in a row, like a fall session and a mid-year session, they go on a READ plan, and I don't know what READ stands for. No, it stands for something. And so then the READ plan means that they receive ongoing progress monitoring, as well as there's a menu of interventions that we can select from. And so our READ plan goals include evaluating and enhancing the reading resources for teachers that include phonetic and decodable readers. That's a very specific type of reader that helps children gain their confidence. Providing additional specialized training in reading best practices and instruction and specific curriculum-based instructional strategies. So we've received some of that this year with our teachers, and we'll continue that again moving forward next year. We have, I think, 3 of our teachers have endorsements as reading specialists. We're pretty lucky here. We are also looking to increase our fidelity and progress monitoring to include students scoring below benchmark, not just well below benchmark, but below benchmark, or yellow on the DIBELS reports, and bolster the interventions provided. So we're trying to help provide those interventions sooner and stronger for children, and not waiting for them to fail and get on a READ plan. Finally, we're looking at evaluating our core reading programs for kindergartners through 2nd graders based on the READ Act requirements, and make recommendations for a program to be implementing in the 16-17 school year. And that is in process. We have a crew on our staff who have been looking at various curriculums based on the READ Act standards, and we are nearly ready to make some recommendations to move forward. So that's pretty exciting. Yes. Yes, so the whole intent of the READ Act was to assure that students had strong literacy skills, not just reading, but also writing, strong literacy skills by the end of 3rd grade. So in education, we say up through 3rd grade, students are learning to read. 4th grade and beyond, they're reading to learn. So starting in 4th grade, there is an expectation that students are accessing content independently through their reading skills, and that's why it's very, very important that they're not only good readers, but they also can comprehend what they're reading and then take action with the information that they glean and utilize it, apply it, compare it, contrast it, and then come to their own conclusions based on what they read, and that's the intent of the READ Act. So like I said, we did get CMAS results. So CMAS is the Colorado Measures of Academic Success, and those are Colorado specific for science and social studies. Those are separate from PARC, although they're developed by the same company. And we did get those results in July of last year. So I'm able to share with you the 4th grade social studies data. I can't share the 7th grade because the cohort group is not large enough, but the dark green, which we didn't have, means that they have a distinguished command of the material. Light green is strong command of the material. Yellow is moderate command, and red is limited command. And so those are the terms that they use. And there wasn't a whole lot of change in the 4th graders, although we did reduce the percentage of students who were in the limited command and increase those that were with moderate command. Further away? Okay. So 5th grade science. So this one's a pretty big celebration. So you can see that we dramatically increased the percentage of students who were scoring with the strong command, and we significantly reduced the percentage of students who have limited command in the science. So that was a really big celebration, and kudos to the students and the teachers in the classrooms. Same thing happened in 8th grade with science. That's pretty significant. So woohoo. So every year when we do state testing, I challenge students to an attendance challenge because making up tests actually sucks more time away from instruction than actually the tests themselves. And so this year I told the students if we had 95% attendance during the CMAS and PARC assessments, I would dye my hair blue. The kids can silly string the administrative staff, and Mr. Tony agreed to have water balloons thrown at him. So we had 96% attendance. Interesting story. I leave for London and Paris next week to pick up my daughter who's studying abroad. So when I come back, I will have blue hair. And so in May, we will be setting up a fun day that the kids get to water balloon Mr. Tony and silly string the admin staff, and I'll be sporting blue hair for goodness knows how long. I was asking Camden, one of our middle school students, for dye brand suggestions today. So if you don't know Camden, look on our website on the middle school page, and there are probably 6 pictures of Camden, and he has a different color hair in every one of them. So he is a connoisseur of hair dyes. So we're pretty excited about that. Truth be known, I've wanted to have blue hair for a very long time, and this is a way that I can justify it. So I'm really excited that the children made the attendance challenge, because did you know there's a Jeffco policy against having non-natural colored hair? I know. Can't wait to go to the principal meeting. All right. So we are a come as you are school. On the horizon, negative factor, you've heard it referred to several times, but things are getting serious because a lot more people in our state are starting to understand what this means for individual schools. So we talked about the millions of dollars over the last 6 years, but this year, this school year, with your children in this school, we received $287,620 less in funding than was intended by the voters under Amendment 23 because of the negative factor. Please be clear, the negative factor was created by the legislators in order to provide the funding that they want to provide instead of what the voters wanted them to provide. It's a made-up factor because the way that the legislative law reads is that the state can consider the overall tax base and other factors in determining the funding for schools. So they created the negative factor. They created it. So I am hoping that as more people find out about it and there get to be more bills introduced, the one for this year's already been killed, but as our legislators introduce more bills, there will be more momentum, more support, and more voters who are informed to tell their legislators we want to get rid of the negative factors so that education in our state can be funded for our students. Mill levy override and bond initiatives. Jeffco is looking at floating these before the voters this year. They do so every 4 to 6 years. That's part of how they assure the funding moving forward in them before Jeffco. And there are a lot of changes being proposed throughout the district. You can tune in through the video webcast to the Board of Education meeting on Thursday evening. The Facilities Advisory Committee will be making a presentation to the full Board of Education here in Jeffco, and the folks in the Facilities Department will be presenting their updated Facilities Master Plan. Theirs is only 99 pages, ours is 120, so anyway. But part of what they're presenting, there are big changes coming to Jeffco in terms that are outlined within the Facilities Master Plan in order to help maximize utilization of space. And so along with that, they are proposing to float a $420 million bond. Bond is for buildings, mill is for operations, as well as a mill levy override that would increase operational funds. We do believe that charters this time around should be included equally and not have to require a special vote. We are anticipating that, so that's fabulous news. And we do know that charters are going to be included in the bond. We just don't know how at this point. Our school is very well positioned though, because the items that we put forth in our critical needs category are exactly what the district is going to be proposing for their buildings as well. So we're pretty excited about that, so stay tuned. I do know that the Golden Area meeting is scheduled for June 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Golden High School Auditorium. These are, the Board of Education is going to be holding 12 different public input meetings to inform what they decide on in terms of how to allocate funds for the bond and the final amount that they're going to float before the voters. It's important that charter schools have a voice in that. This is, yes, on summer break. And so I am hopeful that we can have a good showing there. They are asking us to attend the meeting in the area in which we would be impacted. We are in the Golden area, articulation area, physically located, so that would be the meeting that would be most applicable. So they'll be covering the whole scope of the Facilities Master Plan at every community forum meeting with a special focus on that particular area. I can tell you that Jeffco is looking to move to a K-5 elementary model and a 6, 7, 8 middle school model district-wide over the next 5 years. So that's something to be aware of, and that will likely have some implications for us as well in terms of looking at our grade level configurations. There have also been several proposals at the state level to weaken charter school autonomy through state legislation. And so the Colorado League of Charter Schools has something called the Charter Advocacy Network, or CAN. And you can sign up for emails, and they'll just send you emails to keep you updated when those kinds of things happen. And at times, if there's, when they feel like maybe our legislators could use contacting by our voters, they will actually include in there the links and ways to do so if you're interested. It's never something that you have to take action on. It just provides you information so that if you choose to, you can. So these are some things that are really big and important and will have an impact on us and our school. So I hope that you will consider taking action on the negative factor. I do hope that you will attend the Golden Area meeting and get informed regarding the bond and mill initiatives that the Jeffco Board of Education is proposing. And I hope that you will consider joining the Charter Advocacy Network to keep on top of the state legislative items that could have an impact as well. So we have a lot to celebrate. We are so proud of our solar array, and not only have we put this in place in order to save the school money over time, but we're also reducing our carbon footprint, which is great for our environment. So another way that we're operationalizing our mission statement. Our clubs and enrichment program offerings and our growing athletic programs are really providing a lot of opportunities for our students. And I would like to give a shout out to our staff members who do club programs and coach our athletics. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's pretty darn amazing. And then our students showed amazing growth on the science CMAS tests, which we're pretty darn proud of. careful budgeting has allowed us to take incremental steps toward implementing those long-range facility strategic visions so that we can better support student learning. We're very excited about that. And we anticipate higher staff and student return rates than ever before in the school's history coming off of this year going into next year. So it's a testament to the passion of our faculty, the passion of our families, and the incredible work that our students do each and every day, because this is all about them. It's what gets us up in the morning. It's why we're here. So thank you so much to all of our families for choosing the school and allowing us the privilege of working with your children. Thank you to our amazing staff for all the work that they do each and every day with each and every child in our building. And thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. To the right. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Heron. By the way, you have to be a Jennifer to be a leader in Free Horizon. That's just a requirement. I'm the president of the CSN, Community Support Network, and I'll try to make this pretty quick. This is what we do. We support individualized instruction, engaging curriculum, and strong community. Most of the time we're doing it through a fundraiser, yes, we know. This is perfect segue because the basically $300,000 of the negative factor, we're only offsetting with a goal of about $100,000 every year. Our goal this year was about $95,000. We set that over the summer based on the school budget and the needs, et cetera. So just in case you thought that was a lot of fundraising this year, that's only 1/3 of what we really should be doing. Well, other than the 2/3 of... That's how I look at it. So this is our board from this year. We do have some members shifting around as well as rolling off. Some people have been here a very long time. Kate Anderson came on in the middle of the year to be vice president, which was awesome. She was kind of like, hey, what's open? You can do this. Okay. This year she's going to be treasurer, and so which is fabulous. Jennifer Bernard, did I do it right? Yes, because there's Jennifer Bernard and Jennifer Berger on our board, and Jennifer Heron. Jennifer Bernard, her daughter is moving off into high school, so she's no longer here. Michelle Nordwald is kind of a busy lady, so she's going to step down. Jess Kirchner is going to stay on as fundraising chair, and Sean Sands, who's been on the board for 2 years, will step down, and Karen Force is going to take over. Jen Berger, who has been community liaison this year, is going to do the president role for next year. Well, assuming you all voted her in, which you did. Autumn Rose, she is decorating queen. She did all of spring fleeing along with Becca Terry. That was all her idea, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And she's our marketing chair. Lane Weber, again, has been here forever. She did communications this year, and she's done almost every other role on the board, and she will be stepping down this year as well. But Katie Bradford will be here again as volunteer coordinator. And then we have our lovely, she gets her own page, Megan Wells. She is our CSN staff liaison. She comes to our meetings, and we talk and we text in between, like today. Do we have more childcare? Okay. So she keeps us and the administration all in communication together. This is the new board for next year. Everybody said yes on the votes, just so you know. We do have vice president open and secretary. Secretary is super easy to do. You basically show up and take notes and then email them out to everybody. Jess and Karen are going to be awesome at fundraising. And we have community liaison, which is also pretty easy. Yeah, you basically get, organized food and coffee. And the staff thinks that's fantastic. So, yeah. I'm going to be doing communications role this year. And then we still have Katie, Autumn, and Megan. So we had huge, overwhelming generosity as we do year after year. Do I have a laser pointer? Okay, we don't know how to use it. Down on the bottom is the total raised from previous years. We almost popped the thermometer after our spring fling, which was our biggest ever in the entire history of the school. I think we actually hit 50,000, and if we didn't, I'm donating the extra $2 or whatever it is. So we made $50,000 on Saturday night in the middle of a snowstorm. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, you can clap. And it was fun. And it was very fun. I even had fun working it because last year was not as much fun. This was way more fun. So it was excellent. We did 3 big fundraisers. Foxtrot is the other, in Colorado Gives Day. Those are the 3 biggest, and then followed by the biggest, next biggest revenue generator is grocery cards at about 10,000. So in case you forget to load your King Soopers card, don't. Okay. Spring Fling, here are the final numbers. Michelle Nordwald is a force of nature, and she did this Sunday morning after being up all night. You know, she has 4 kids, right? Okay. So a really huge live and special appeal. That's definitely the biggest ever. Most of you were there, so. These are our sponsors that sponsored Spring Fling, so I've got them on the page as well. So far this year, we funded $116,000. Well, you can see the breakdown in the pie chart, and this pie chart is the same that's on the brochure that's in Colorado Giving. So quick question, anybody have questions about how we spend our money? Those are all the ongoing fundraisers that we try to do as passively as possible. Basically, it's if you shop, percentages go back. A couple that I'll point out are if you do have a jalopy car, you can do Cars for Charity just like NPR does. Just give it to us instead of them. And there is United Way and matching gifts as well. This is probably a fairly emotional slide. So if you guys know Sherry Harper Champlin, I will try not to cry. She passed away 2 years ago, Monica? 2 years ago. And in her will, she basically wanted a fund to set up remote access for parents who were busy or homebound. And so we had donations in that memorial fund. And when Luke came on board, we had a committee that instantiated how we would activate this remote access. So Luke did pretty much quite a bit of the technical work. We ordered the audio video equipment, including I think what I'm holding right now. Yes? And the video camera and the editing software that we use for all of our videos, our fun videos. As well as our parent education videos. So the live streaming effort is all basically because Sherry wanted this. And we have 6 viewers online. And are we recording this as well? That's sort of frightening. Okay. So this is pretty amazing. We're all busy, and this is a really neat way to have access to the information directly from the horses' mouths. A lot of horses in the room. And so it's pretty amazing and quite a legacy. Proud to kind of talk about it, but it really wasn't my idea, the CSN's or anybody's. It was all Sherry's idea. And finally, we want to acknowledge and thank each and every member of the staff who are all very, very important. I'm a total sap. Just ask my husband, although he might be worse, and he is listening. I do want to thank Krista and Beth for an amazing year. They almost lost our entire admin staff and completely replaced them with fabulous, amazing people. And it's been seamless, on top of being traffic cops, on top of all this. So I just wanted to thank them especially. Thanks, I think that's it. Sorry. in the spirit of making everything accessible, we had more votes tonight than anyone can recall ever having before. 90 votes were placed by 90 different people. 41 of those were done by electronically and 39 by paper. And 42 on the board of directors for next year, for the next 3 years, are Jill Fricker and Jennifer Stickle. So congratulations. And that is it. That is it. Yeah? And yep, it's good.
Yeah, we can open it up for any questions that people might have now of either the administration, the board. Oh, do you want to talk about the flyer? Yeah, perfect.
Told you I had a flyer, and then I didn't talk about the flyer. So you'll receive this as an attachment to your Fox Flash probably every week until the end of school. This is developed by the Jeffco Public Schools regarding the Facilities Master Plan public presentations, and so it has all of the information, including the one I talked about that'll be happening at Golden High School. But some of you live in other areas, and so if you would like information about what might be happening in your area where you might live in Jeffco, this has all the information. So look for that as an attachment to the Fox Flash. And with that, we'll open it for questions. So the question was, when do we estimate breaking ground on the playground? So in terms of the planning, we believe that will take 4 to 6 months once the RFP is complete. So we do have to go through an RFP process because the cost will be higher than our threshold, and that we can do without that. And then once the firm is selected, the firms that we have spoken with have estimated a 4 to 6 month turnaround for that site work, the civil engineering, surveying, all of that that goes into it. And what we will be asking for is a phased approach so that they can do kind of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, so that we can implement in small increments. In terms of exactly when that will happen, we're not sure. It is part of what we've put forth for the Jeffco bond. The good news is if we are included in the Jeffco bond, that we do get funding through that. The bad news is we don't get to select when it happens. The bond is a 5-year bond, and so Jeffco scopes out when those projects occur. However, there's also the possibility that we could float financing in anticipation of bond funding coming in the future, those kinds of things. So it's a complicated thing, but it's just as soon as we can because we know we need to. Other questions? Yeah. All right. Yeah, so the question is about the relevance of what testing, exciting about the CMAS, but not really sure what to do with the park testing and what tests the students take, what's relevant and what's not. So the most relevant, hands down, is the MAP testing. That's the measures of academic progress that the students take 3 times a year in the fall, the winter, and the spring. We receive the results pretty immediately from that, just as soon as the district closes the testing window. We had been administering MAP for a number of years prior to last year when we went with Acuity with the district, and that was a big fiasco for the entire district and resulted in actually Acuity having to reimburse the district. So that's how big of a snafu it was. So this year, the entire district went to MAP, so we're doing that with them, and we're pretty excited about it. MAP data gives us information on how students progress. It gives us not only performance data, but growth data over time. So those of you who have had students with us for a number of years, they start that in kindergarten, and they move up until they're through in 8th grade, and they'll take that MAP test. And so for those who were with us before, and their children were of the age to receive that test prior to last year, all the reports that you receive have all of their previous scores as well, which is pretty exciting. In terms of the CMAS, that's the social studies and science. It does, because we do receive that sooner, we can use that data, and we're hoping that with the park, which is the English language arts, and the math, that's for 3rd graders and above, we are hopeful that that will come in time for us to take a look at it. Park data, CMAS data is really intended more from a standpoint of helping us as a school identify the content areas and the sub-content areas where we need to either beef up our curriculum or look at instruction. Oftentimes, what used to happen with TCAP is we could slice and dice it a lot of different ways. We could look at it by teacher, we could look at it by cohort, we could look at it in a lot of different ways so that we could see if one teacher's students were consistently scoring lower in one area, that means that we needed to provide some support for that teacher. If it was something that was happening school-wide, it means it's a curriculum issue. So we're hopeful that Park will get there. It's not there yet. We don't even know if we can compare this year's data with the previous year's data because the testing sessions and numbers were different. So we'll see what the state comes back and gives us guidance on that. That was a very long-winded answer, but did that answer it, Michelle? Thanks. Other questions? Oh, yeah. So the question now is about the term highly effective and whether the state's factors are what we look for in a teacher. The answer is that the rubrics that we're using should be found in any type of teacher, whether it's a Montessori teacher, a core knowledge teacher, a traditional teacher, a Waldorf teacher. The look-fors are what are different. So what we've defined as what we're looking for and how that is shown in our Montessori context is different, but the indicators themselves are things like evidence of planning. We want to see evidence of planning. Effective use of instructional time. We want to see that. Effective record keeping, positive communications, welcoming environment, those kinds of things are things we want to see in our teachers. But what we look for might look different in terms of effective use of planning, effective use of record keeping, effective lesson design. Those are going to look a bit different than they would for a traditional teacher. Yes, it is based on the internal evaluation. We are required under Senate Bill 191 to take student testing data into consideration for that, but the formula that we use looks at it on a school-wide basis instead of by class because we feel like that's the more fair way to do it. And we're not allowed to opt out of Senate Bill 191 for a waiver. We would. Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. And right now, about 75% of our classroom teachers and specialists hold a Colorado teacher's license. And so when things get reported out to the state, they do ask us for the effectiveness rating, and that could impact their ability to gain employment in the future should they ever decide to move on to another public school setting. And so we want to make sure that we are doing that for our students, or for our teachers who hold those licenses, so that it doesn't have a negative impact on them. Yes, Jen. Mm-hmm.
I just have to tell you, this school is absolutely amazing. Spring Fling.
Do you know,
Sure. So we came from another school, another public school, and it was everything we could do to get the teachers and the staff to the events that we had. And at Spring Fling, I couldn't even believe how many teachers and staff were there, right? And then my husband and I commented, they weren't just there. They were participating, and like they really, it's so amazing. It was so amazing to see that. We were both absolutely stunned at what we were seeing happen. So we're very glad to be here.
Yes, thank you, staff. Any other questions, comments, contributions? Well, with that, we are ending our annual meeting for the first time ever, 4 minutes before our scheduled ending time. Chris and I will be available after the meeting if you have any specific questions.
With that, thank you very much for attending tonight, and thanks for those that listened online as well.